In our many visits to South Boston in 1996, the main battle seemed to be focused on rising star B.A. Wilson and veteran David Blankenship. However, the big picture over the last several years has been the success of brother combinations. With names such as Burton and Sadler enjoying the rise to the Winston Cup and Busch Series respectively, a third set of brothers loom on the horizon. In the first two races of '97, Kevin and Wayne Grubb have taken their place as a new family regime, but several heavy hitters stand in their way in their quest for the big time. Tonight, the road to Charlotte stops at South Boston. Speedway Production presents the best of the NASCAR Winston Racing Series. Tonight from the South Boston Speedway in Virginia, it's the CarQuest Twin 75's for late model stock cars. Tonight's Winston Racing Series short track coverage is brought to you by CarQuest Auto Parts Stores, by Duragloss, and by South Boston Speedway. It's a beautiful evening here in Southern Virginia. Hello, everybody. I'm Buddy Long, and welcome back to the South Boston Speedway here in South Boston, Virginia. Tonight, the third race of the 1997 season for the NASCAR Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. We mentioned a few moments ago brother combinations and how they have dominated over the seasons and years and gone on to progress into the Winston Cup and Busch Grand National Series. We mentioned Jeff and Ward Burton, Elliott and Hermie Sadler, but there's another brother combination on the rise. Joining me tonight is my broadcast partner, the fine voice of the Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas, Virginia, Edwin Pardue. And Edwin, question number one, what is it about this racetrack and brother combinations that make it so successful for these guys?
First, I thought you were going to introduce you and I as the next brother combination. Kevin and Wayne Grubb, they have been phenomenal this year, especially Kevin. That 55 car has been unstoppable. But tonight, maybe his first little dent in his armor, not on the pole tonight, and B.A. Wilson, last year's track champion, back up front. So it'll be interesting. Twin 75s, what they're going to do, they're going to run 75 laps, then we're going to come back and invert and redraw the top six. Should make that second race really exciting.
And one of the drivers that has been denied so far this year, we'll talk to in just a few moments with John Evans, but in addition to the Grubb boys and that latest brother combination, there's also some other driver changes. Some numbers have changed on a lot of the cars, but there are three top-notch veterans of Winston Racing Series late model stock car action that have changed teams this year, and it should be interesting tonight.
Yeah, earlier this afternoon, I apologized to Shane Lockhart. So used to seeing him in the K95 car. This year, Bubba Urban is in the K95 car. Shane Lockhart in the 90 car. Frank Denny Jr., used to seeing him in that Speedway Engineering Pontiac. He is now driving a brand new look for him, a blue car with a white number 1. His secret weapon, though, the mechanic who turned the wrenches for Elliott Sadler. When Elliott ran here, now working for Frank Denny Jr. Be interesting to see how these combinations work out tonight.
That's just a couple of the storylines. There's also some second and third generation drivers that have also qualified for today's field. Some good drivers from a huge history of racing family.
Right, we'll start with Kenny Cagle. His dad, Reds Cagle, terror of the short tracks in Maryland and Virginia for years. And a third generation driver, Chuck Hendricks, son of Roy, grandson of the legendary modified driver Ray Hendricks. He's here tonight in only his 7th late model stock car race. Should be interesting.
Add that to the fact that tonight is the Road to Charlotte Invitational. John Moose, the gentleman who is the director of the Road to Charlotte deal from Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina, is on hand here tonight. Tonight, the driver that wins has an invitation to go down to Charlotte Motor Speedway and try to qualify for that Busch race a little bit later in the year. John Moose was with John Evans, our pit guy, earlier today. For fans that are not really sure about the Road to Invitational and how it works at Charlotte Motor Speedway, here's John Evans with John Moose.
Well, this man right here don't need any introduction when it comes to racing because he's from Charlotte Motor Speedway and representing the CarQuest Invitational this year for the Busch Grand National Series. And, John, it's great to have you back at South Boston.
It's always a pleasure to come to South Boston. As you and everyone knows, that this is one of the premier short tracks, and it's not in jeopardy of anything anytime soon being anything less than what it really is, and that is a #1 facility. And I would encourage people who's never been here to drop in if they're coming this way, John.
I know you're getting excited about the Winston Select coming up. Not only that, you got the ARCA Series back, you got the Grand National Busch Series and Winston Cup cars. The biggest month of May, or the biggest month for auto racing, has to be for Charlotte Motor Speedway coming up.
You're right, and I did not hear IROC. IROC is also with us too, John. We're very fortunate to have them as part of our month of May of racing. It is a continuous growing program. We have the Diamond Terrace on the backside coming out of the second turn. We've added 32,000 seats, and I'm delighted to say they're almost all gone.
Well, John, I know you got something special for these late model stock drivers tonight of the Winston Racing Series. Tell us about some of the offerings, some of the incentives for the drivers this evening.
The Road to Charlotte, this is our 21st year. What we have here is the winner or anyone finishing in the top 12. We'll give them $2,000 upon entering, qualifying, and starting the Busch CarQuest 300 on May the 24th. However, if they don't have a Busch car, we will make $1,500 available to them if they'll run on the qualifying night for the $600, $1,500 if they have an ARCA car. So we are definitely interested in grassroots racing, short track racing, and that's why we're here.
Okay, it's great to have John Moose from Charlotte Motor Speedway here tonight at South Boston for the Renegades Racing Twin 75s, and no doubt we look forward to seeing you next month in Charlotte.
I'm looking forward to it. We look forward to having you folks down here, and thank you for the great program that you're doing with the electronic media here. It means a great deal to all the short tracks. Keep up the good work.
Okay, Edwin, buddy, back up to you.
Well, as we mentioned, Kevin and Wayne Grubb have been the storyline so far in the early part of 1997, but we also mentioned at the top of the broadcast there were two other drivers that really figured for the championship. One of those drivers sits on the pole tonight, and our own John Evans joins him right now.
And you had a good run here in the 90s, and, you know, the first couple of races here, you were kind of wondering if that track championship was maybe a jinx, but tonight you're running real strong. You're back on track with a pole run.
Well, you know, before qualifying there, we didn't think we were back on track. You know, it just felt like the same car we had ran every race here so far, and just an average car. And for some reason, we got a good lap out of it there. And you know, it's just got to be one of them nights we got to put 75 of them together, and that's the key tonight, is go out there and stay clean for that first race, and hopefully get you a good finish so you can run that in the second one.
You know, you finished second in Atlantic Seaboard last year. That's a great way. That's putting you in the top 20 in the nation, because the top 10 drivers from each region were recognized, and you were second in your region. What's your goals for this year? Anything new that you're going to do this year that you didn't compete in last year?
Well, you know, it's a lot hard to come back with a year like I had last year and repeat. So that kind of hurt us, because we expected to run like that. And you know, you come out third place it's pretty good finishes, but you know, not what we're wanting. So we're wanting to win some races, and hopefully we're going to run some other stuff. We're going to run a couple of super truck races and maybe some all-pro stuff. But we just got to keep concentrating here. I think we let our focus go away from really what we needed to concentrate on, and we worked real hard the past 2 weeks, really working on the car and working on everything, just working at the shop, just showing interest. And you know, I think it really helped us out a lot. I've been trying to focus on what I needed to do a little more, and we got two good laps out of this, so hopefully we can get 75 of them.
It's going to be pretty exciting tonight. Twin 75 is going to have a little invert deal at the half with the drivers I know love, but the big thing about it tonight, you know, you got some real close qualifying up front. The times were real close tonight.
Well, you know, this year it's been very tight. The field's been close. Cars have been running real good. So it's a very, I guess I'd bet it's the most competitive track in the late model stock car division. You know, we got a lot of good cars here, a lot of good drivers, and you know, it's going to be hard to win one here.
I'll tell you what, BA's from the Texas area down in Dallas, and he's living in Richmond now. You know, Bobby Hillen had a good qualifying run. He's starting outside the front row. He's from Midland. You're on the pole tonight. Did the folks down in Texas keep up what BA's doing?
Oh yeah, I've told them it's going to be on HTS and all, but I will tell you one thing. I sure hope I end up better than I feel Bobby Hillen's going to end up.
All right, B.A. Wilson with some comments about a fellow Texan, but tonight I think B.A.'s going to do a little dancing here in a minute, but we'll maybe get some shots of it here for the folks back in Dallas. Maybe they can send the tape back down to them from HTS.
Well, it should be an interesting race. We have got huge storylines all the way around. Twin 75, you mentioned the inversion. We've got some veteran drivers making driver changes, some young bucks in the field. B.A. Wilson and David Blankenship have yet to show their wares tonight. Maybe could be the night the Grubb boys figure in there. It's all kinds of stories developing.
Well, throw one more thing into it, 26 cars, so a full field of late model stock cars here, which makes it even more exciting on what looks like a wide open speedway. Trust me, coming off the corners here can get pretty tight.
Sit back and relax. Twin 75s coming up in the CarQuest Twins at South Boston Speedway. Our starting lineup when we return. So welcome back to South Boston Speedway. The pre-race activities continue here at the track on the third night of racing here for the 1997 season. As we mentioned, 26 Winston Racing Series late model stock car drivers took time trials. Actually, we'll say 25. We'll let you know about the tail end of the field in just a few moments. But Edwin, let's take a look at that starting lineup here this evening.
Buddy, 3 drivers getting underneath of that magical 16 flat mark, and on the pole, the defending track champion out of Glen Allen, Virginia, car number 81, the ICSE Control System Chevrolet of B.A. Wilson. Next to him, the 2-time winner so far this season out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, the Bullets Pontiac, car number 55 of Kevin Grubb. Inside of row number 2, he's a former champion as well. Car number 3, the Tom's Mini Mart Pit Stop Auto Sales Pontiac. That's David Blankenship. And next to him, car number 1, the unsponsored Chevrolet of Frank Daney Jr.
Taking you back to row number 3, starting in 5th position, one of the many drivers that has changed rides in the offseason, that K95 machine, the 3 stores, 1 roof Chevy of Bubba Urban Jr., had many good runs down here in his own car last season. We'll look for good things from him this evening. The outside of row number 3, starting 6th, car number 85, Rodney Sawyer is one of the regulars here at the Speedway, driving the D&H Contractor Chevy. Back in row number 4, starting 7th, the other half of that Grubb combination and a one-time winner in 97 in the Link Belt Pontiac, the number 4 of Wayne Grubb. And on the outside, starting 8th, driving car number 28, the Mike's Plumbing Ford, being powered by Greg Davis.
Going now to row number 5. On the inside, car number 92, the Retalix Auto Parts Pontiac. That's Chris Evans. And next to Chris in car number 2, the Sherwin-Williams KFC Pontiac out of Cluster Springs, Virginia. And that's Danny Willis. Going to row number 6 on the inside in car number 12, that's Jerry Wayne Vaughn. He picked up a feature win here last season. Dr. Dave's Engines Pontiac, car number 12. And on the outside of row number 6, car number 8, that's Steve Stallings, the Parish Foreign Auto Exchange Pontiac, car number 8.
Taking you back to row number 7, starting 13th in car number 90, also a new ride for this driver this year, Shane Lockhart in the Reliable Communications Chevrolet. The outside of row number 7 to one of the rookies in the field. He'll start 14th in car number 7 in the People's Department Store Chevy. The engines have been fired on pit road as we take you back into row number 8. 15th on the field, a former 4-cylinder driver now making his living in the late model stock cars in car number 41, the Tri-State Chevy of Tyler McRae. And on the outside, back in 16th in car number 97, the unsponsored Chevrolet of Kevin Johnson.
Row number 9 on the inside, one of the true veterans of this division out of Durham, North Carolina. He'll be in the 04 car tonight, the Libby Hill Seafood Chevrolet. That's Jay Fogelman. And outside of Jay, in the car number 91, the latest driver to put on the driving suit for Rick Hendrick. The Rick Hendrick Chevrolet sponsored car number 91 of Jimmy Johnson. Row number 10 on the inside, car number 11, the 3rd generation driver, the Hesco Hendrick Performance Chevrolet, car number 11, Chuck Hendrick. And on the outside, a 2nd generation driver, the Motor Circuit Chevrolet, car number 59, Kenny Cagle.
Seems like every time I get my choice for a row, it's a driver in a brand new car as we go back to the 21st starting spot, the 01 machine of Frank Denny Jr. out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, that unsponsored Chevrolet. And on the outside in 22nd, the number 36 car of Rob Ziegler, the Adco Graphics Chevrolet. 23rd tonight, the number 20 car of Matt Williams of the U-Crops Energizer Pontiac. Starting 24th, Dokie Bagby, and car number 14, the Pit Stop Auto Sales Chevrolet. Rounding out the field in 25th spot, the 02 of Dennis Gardner. He'll be in the Country Kitchen Pontiac. And the one driver that had troubles, and I believe you can elaborate on this a little bit, Barry Hopkins, he was the only driver that really had trouble, couldn't get out on the track for his time trials.
Yeah, broke the panhard bracket. They had to weld it back on. Didn't make it out for qualifying. He'll start 26th.
Barry will be in the field, as Edwin just mentioned. 26 high-powered Winston Racing Series late model stock cars about to do battle in the first of our twin 75 sponsored by CarQuest Auto Parts. The Road to Charlotte Invitational about to get the green flag, and we'll give you that coverage right after these messages. Welcome back to South Boston Speedway. Let's make one change or correction. The 01 car is Lynn O'Neill. Lynn starting back in the 21st position. We put Frank Denny in our lineup twice. My mistake. I'm sorry about that. Lynn driving the CMO signed vinyl Chevrolet. Frank is scheduled to go on the outside of row number 2 back in 4th position. It'll be Lynn O'Neill going in 21st again in the CMO signed vinyl Chevrolet. And this is his first appearance at this track, and he has had some good runs in 1996 when we saw here last year, Edwin.
Just about a half a lap before they get green, and buddy, the question is, can Kevin Grubb continue his dominance? Are we going to get back to the winning ways of that 81 car, B.A. Wilson? He won a bunch of races last year. What did he win? 9 feature wins here last year for B.A. Wilson, but yet to be in victory lane. Also, we want to keep our eyes on that car number 3, multi-time champion here, David Blankenship. Going to be great. We're getting down to it.
Good story developing right on that front row. B.A. Wilson, the defending track champion, hasn't had a crack at victory lane in 1997 yet. He wins the pole today. Kevin Grubb, the hot driver on the outside of row number 1. Watch this start as they come off of turn number 4. At the very last second, the pace car will dip down to the pits, and they will wait till they almost get to the start-finish line before they get up through the gearbox and head it off into turn number 1. And we we've got trouble quickly over in that second turn. 3 drivers are spinning. One of those will be the 11 of Chuck Hendrick. The 02 of Dennis Gardner is also involved, as well as the number 20 car of Matt Williams. It looks like slight contact between Gardner and also Hendrick, and Williams went spinning pretty much in the same spot he did during his time trials earlier today.
Yeah, that's the also Matt Williams there just pulling away. Doesn't look like it's anything that's going to keep him from completing the race here, but, you know, they say that start is the toughest thing. 2x2 all the way down. They go through the corner side by side. We see there's Matt Williams coming by the start-finish line. Not too much damage on that car. Little on the rear there. Chuck Hendrick is in the pit area, along with that 02 car of Dennis Gardner headed for the pit. So as soon as we get it under green, buddy, we're under caution.
Taking a look at those drivers and how that transpired over in turn number 2. Most of those cars starting at the tail end of the field, and a tough break. Now, once again, this is the CarQuest Twin 75's. We mentioned it was the Road to Charlotte Invitational. John Moose explained the Road to Charlotte deal. Now, in the past, some of these drivers, although they have enough money and have enough backing to have a Winston Racing Series late model stock, a lot of these guys, Edwin, may not have the finances to have a Busch or an ARCA car to get down to Charlotte for that race and try and qualify. So John decided what they were going to do this year is go back as far as the 12th finishing position. They would not just give it to the driver that won this race. They'll go back at least all the way to 12th until they can find a driver, pretty much, that may have a deal.
Well, a lot of these guys are working, as you say, multiple deals right now. Kevin and Wayne Grubb both trying to make a move into the truck series. Talked this afternoon earlier to Shane Lockhart. Shane was saying he hopes to work in a truck deal before the year is over. Another guy who is in a deal where he's got a Busch Grand National car, that's Kenny Cagle. Kenny, in fact, he changed his number this year to 59 to match his Busch car. So those are a couple of the drivers that have other things going on. Several of these other guys, Jay Fogelman, I'm sure these guys have access to those cars. So it's a neat opportunity for these guys to take the next step up. It's just coming up with the money sometimes in the ride, but they're going to help them out with some extra cash.
Now, we saw when the Craftsman Truck Series first got started a few years ago and how the announcers always would have to put up a buck every time they said car instead of truck. We've both made the similar bet to each other that who was going to be the first one to mention Shane Lockhart was in the K9.
Did I already say that?
So
yeah.
we were no, we haven't done it yet, but you know, it's going to happen, you know, because we've been so used to him in that car for many years.
I caught Shane in the pit area, like I said earlier. I said, I know I'm going to do it sooner or later. Neat thing, I talked with the guys with Kenny Cagle's team. They put together a neat thing, the Motor Circuit Racing, and these guys put together not only sponsorship, but managing racing teams, and it's gone to that level now, and that's the sponsor on the side of Kenny's car, Motor Circuit Racing, and it's gone to that where even at this late model stock car division level, you need somebody like that to step in and really help you market yourself to take that next step up to whether it's trucks or Busch Grand National or ARCA cars or the popular Hooters Pro Cup or something like that. But there's a look at that 59 car. Just a little bit different way of putting together sponsorship and managing a race team.
Trying to get our field sorted out here on the front straightaway. The 01 of Lynn O'Neill. There you see the CMO signed vinyl car. As we mentioned, his first appearance here at South Boston in 1997. As you can also see, the caution laps will count here in tonight's first of 2 CarQuest Auto Parts Twin 75's. They'll be putting lap number 5 on the board when they come back to the stripe this time. And looking to see if we can go back to green flag racing in a moment. It is B.A. Wilson of the 81 as your leader, Kevin Grubb in the 55. Now, they have said he hasn't really qualified that well this year, but he's always at the front. He's in victory lane when it counts, so he had probably one of his better qualifying runs today.
As we mentioned, last year, B.A. Wilson, the champ, 9 victories, 7 at this Speedway last year for David Blankenship. Kevin Grubb picked up 3. The other winners here, Rodney Sawyers, Jerry Vaughn, and Wayne Grubb, each picked up 1 win apiece last year. So it gives you an idea that a lot of the major players from last year still right here. Even though this South Boston Speedway has a great record for sending guys on to bigger and better things, as we mentioned, the Burtons and the Sadlers. That 02 car, Gardner, back into the pit area. He was involved in that early incident you see on the right-hand side, a little crinkle there, but he looks to be okay and heads back out on the Speedway.
Kevin Grubb is your points leader after 2 events here in the early part of 1997. A 6-point advantage over his brother Wayne in Link Belt Pontiac number 4. 81 of B.A. Wilson, the defending track champion, right now lies in 3rd. It'll be the number 3 of David Blankenship and the K95 of Bubba Urban Jr. Those are the top 5 drivers of the Winston Racing Series late model stock car points after the first 2 events of 1997. 40th anniversary being celebrated here at many different tracks throughout the country. I know up in our way, your way, the Old Dominion Speedway has been around for many, many years. The track that I normally work at is celebrating its 50th anniversary. A couple of other forms of motorsports celebrating 50th and 58th anniversary. It seems like a big year for a lot of racing organizations and facilities, and that says a lot about motorsports as we get set to get back to green. A longevity for a lot of them.
Luckily here, this is single file instead of a double file restart. Let's see if they can negotiate turns 1 and 2 a little bit better this time.
Wilson up through that gearbox. A Beaumont, Texas driver with a couple of car lengths of an advantage as they work back into turn number 1 and 2. Single file as they go back to green here on lap number 7. Kevin Grubb holding on to second. Blankenship. Denny with a good run in car number 1. He qualified 4th. That's where he lies right now. And Bubba Urban in the K95. Looks like they're trying to get the chemistry down pat early in the season. He's right there in 5th. Battle just outside the top 5. Wayne Grubb taking a look on the inside of Rodney Sawyers. Grubb, a one-time feature winner here in the 1997 season. And Sawyers, always, every time we've come down for a television race, that seems to be when he shines a lot, too.
Number 11 car, Chuck Hendricks, he is back in the pit area. Looking at the front end of that race car. Interesting story on the number 1 car of Frank Daney. They overheated that motor in practice. They had put their qualifying setup on the car, got the motor too hot. Now they have flywheel troubles. They've been pushing the car to restart, so shouldn't give him any problems in the race unless he was to spin or something on the speedway. But car running really well right now, sitting in 4th place.
He's lost a little to those front 3 drivers, but he is not holding anybody up behind him. Urban is right behind him by about a car length, back in the number 5 spot. Taking you back a little bit farther, Wayne Grubb currently holding on to 6th. Rodney Sawyers in the number 7 spot. Greg Davis in 8th. A little wisp of smoke coming from the Chris Evans car underneath of him as he tucks back up into 9th. As Danny Willis rounds out the top 10 with a shower of sparks on that car. And there you see the lead duo now. That is beginning to tighten up a little bit more.
Watching these guys go down the back straightaway, B.A. Wilson and Kevin Grubb, watch them as they come out of turn number 4 here. Every time Grubb tries to run just a little bit lower line, this time looking underneath just a little bit, but not really able to do anything, not that close. But interesting, this speedway allows you to run multiple lines. There's 2.5, maybe 3 grooves by the end of the race, as opposed to some places where it's more of a follow the leader. There's a good battle for position.
And we've also got a battle between Wayne Grubb and, there we go, Shane Lockhart. Bubba Urban Jr., and we learned early of 1996 how difficult it was. If your car can't pass in the first couple laps underneath, and Stacy Compton alluded to it, you basically have to get back in line and wait again, try another day.
It's a good battle back down into turns 3 and 4, and now Rodney Sawyer is going to join him and see what he can make of it. Grubb with the preferred line on the inside, but I'll tell you what, Bubba Urban Jr. doing a nice job up on the high side. He still may lose the spot, though, before it's over.
Well, you talk about a kid. You want to see drivers develop. Kevin and Wayne Grubb obviously have. Bubba Urban's another driver that I really like watching. It looks like he has developed well. He's got himself another top-notch ride, as Shane Lockhart has proven over so many years. And now that K95 machine right now trying to stay within the top 6, and he's pulling Grubb down the back straightaway, trying to get that position back with Sawyers in hot pursuit.
Look at Rodney Sawyers in that 85 car. Run up, try to get up on the outside of Wayne Grubb, and now Bubba Urban Jr. going to slip in there, and that'll be the battle for 5th place. So make it Bubba Urban Jr. 5th, Grubb 6th, Sawyers is in 7th.
Meanwhile, the leaders have come upon some slower traffic. Kevin Grubb takes a peek on the inside. They'll go around the Dokeby-Bagby machine, the number 14 car, excuse me. And again, by the time they get around that lap car, Kevin goes right back to work on BA. He took a look down to the inside, not there, and he just settles right back in line with Blankenship trying to close back in 3rd.
And let you know, in the pit area, it looks like Chuck Hendrick is done for the evening. He's parked that car nose first into the pit area and don't see a lot of action. So it looks like an early evening for the 3rd-generation driver.
Well, at least we didn't call him Roy or Ray, because I knew that was the next problem we were going to have here this evening. With the flying number 11, some very popular colors that have been on the NASCAR series for many, many years and modified in late model stock car action. Roy was down in the pits earlier today, and kind of tough to see him sitting on the sidelines and not behind the wheel of a car.
Well, I asked Chuck. Chuck's only 22 years old. I said, is it a lot of pressure having Dad there with you, or does it help out a lot? He said, absolutely helps him out a ton. Says his dad told him, you know, you're the person you are. You can't compare yourself to anybody else, and you've got to develop your own style. Says his dad's been very helpful. Not any pressure.
Trouble over in turn number 2. Greg Davis goes for a ride by his lonesome. It looks like the 92 of Chris Evans may have made some contact. Some damage on the front of that car, heavily smoking as he takes it down into turn number 3 and 4. And a tough break for that driver, coming from the modified series and really proven his worth in the past couple years in late model stock car action.
Yeah, some severe left front damage. There you get a good look at it on Chris Evans' number 92 car. The other car, Edwards, able to get away. He's headed for the pit area, and we'll take a look at both of them and see, well, now 28 car going to stay on the speedway. Let's take a look. Not much damage on that side of the 28 car. He may be okay, but it'll be Evans who'll have to go to the pit area as we're under caution here once again. 21 laps complete.
Just about a third of the way through this evening's first of the 2 CarQuest Twin 75s. The safety truck with the speedy drive will head out over into turn number 2. Looks like we may have a little bit of fluid that was dumped down. They'll check it out. We'll take a break right now. Step aside with B.A. Wilson, your leader, Kevin Grubb, David Blankenship, Frank Denny Jr., and Bubba Urban Jr., your top 5 here at lap 22. Well, back here at South Boston Speedway, we were watching the action over in turn number 2 involving Greg Davis and Chris Evans, and unbeknownst to us, one of the heavy hitters falls off into the pit area. The number 4 of Jay Fogelman, the Libby Hill Seafood car, is parked into the pits. John Evans has a story down there on pit road.
Jay, early night for the Libby Hill racing machine. I know you wanted to do well for your sponsor tonight, but you out early.
Yeah, we just hadn't been here in a while. We tore this car up a couple of weeks ago, and just really hadn't got the handle back on the car again. We're going to try some things, go back out, make a couple of laps, see if we can get better for the second race.
Well, that'll be great. You know, that second 75-lap race is always a dandy, you know. And the first race, some good competition out there. B.A. Wilson and Kevin Grubb battling up front, but I know you're going to do a lot of racing at a lot of different tracks this year.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is, you know, we're going to a lot of different racetracks and trying to get as much exposure for Libby Hill as we can. And just hate that we were out early tonight, but we're going to work on some things here and try to get better for this second race. Don't want to ride around in the back.
Knowing Jay Fogelman, he'll move through the pack pretty quick in that second 75-lap event.
Thanks.
25 laps in the record books make it 26. We go past the 1/3 mark here in the first of 2 Twin 75s sponsored by CarQuest Auto Parts. Again, the Road to Charlotte Invitational tonight here for the Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. 28 of Greg Davis. It looks like, seems like the last time we were down here, Greg had a problem. He had an accident over in turn number 4 and just didn't beat the lead pack back to the stripe. And again, Greg is going to be fighting and digging himself out of a hole again this evening.
Right, he's the first car 1 lap down, but bad night, Chris Evans in the 92 car who was involved in that incident. Chris looks like he's parked. So early in this one, we've already lost 3 cars.
And should be interesting when they line up for that second 75. Some heavy hitters may not be able to make it back into that second event. Green is out. We have 27 in the record books as the pace car heads them off down into turn number 1. Greg Davis gets the jump on B.A. Wilson. Now he'll be praying for the caution flag, but I don't know. He's going to have a hard time holding those guys off.
Right. Keep in mind that 28 cars on the tail end of the lead lap here, and they're giving him the move over. And look at the battle now for the lead going into turn 1 and 2.
Kevin Grubb is hungry. He wants it, and he wants it now. He's going to have to wait for the moment. That caution gave David Blankenship a chance to catch up to that lead duo. Their red-hot battle had just pulled away. Frank Denny remains in 4th, and the battle for 5th. Wayne Grubb now looks like he'll win it with Bubba Urban Jr.
That's always an interesting situation. You see that happen a lot in the Winston Cup division where a lap car gets up front there, last car on the lead lap. They try to get up front and, like you say, hope for a caution to come out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This time it does not for the 28 of Edwards. Or Davis, excuse me.
Davis with a good qualifying effort. He started up in 8th position. He's always had good runs, but just not the good luck. And again, Kevin Grubb makes the bid down to the inside. The Grubb boys have been the 2 that have been on the move making the challenges. We mentioned Wayne moments ago powered into the number 5 spot around Bubba Urban Jr. Kevin still giving B.A. some trouble. And how about the second part of that top 10? How are things looking outside the front 5 behind Urban? It looks like a heated battle between a couple more drivers back there.
Boy, and just as you take your eyes off the front, now the front 2 heat up again. They got into each other last time by, and this time side by side, and Grubb doing a great job making that car stick on the bottom. You're seeing a great example of how a couple different grooves working in here, but B.A. still keeping the car wound up, beating him off the corners and down the front straightaway. And that's short track racing. You got to bind it up to get it down on the inside. If you can keep it wound up on the high side there, right in the middle of the groove, you know, anytime you're high outside of the groove or low, too low on the groove, you're not going to get the best run on it. That time B.A. had the preferred line, even though Wayne was on the inside. B.A. still had the preferred line coming out of the corner.
Kevin made the bid moments ago. It was not there. We thought it was. Meanwhile, brother Wayne continues his march to the front. He looks to the inside of Frank Denny for the number 4 position off that second turn. He got Urban moments ago. He wants to move up another notch in the order. Just outside the top 5, we mentioned Urban is back there in the number 6 position. Rodney Sawyers holds on to 7th early. Denny Willis remains back there.
The leaders touched there, and B.A. just about got sideways. They touched going down into 1 and 2, and B.A. just about lost the car down in the corner. Every time we try to go and recap the top 10, these 2 up front just go wild.
This is tick you off sometimes.
I don't know. That's some pretty good racing right there. And the guy just sitting back there in 3rd place watching. Whoa!
He just did it again. Serious heat coming off that second turn. I mean, B.A. is up for the challenge right now, but how much more can he withstand? I mean, sooner or later, it's going to take him up just right out of the groove enough to put Grubb in front.
I don't know. This is fun to watch, though. This time, Grubb gets a pretty good run down on the inside. See if he can make it stick down there. Man, BA doing a great job. A lot of horsepower in that ICSE car, number 81 of BA Wilson.
Well, you grabbed my arm a while ago when they made the touch, and I thought you were falling off the stool over there. It must have been a heck of a battle. I was looking back at about 8th, 9th spot, and that teaches me a lesson right there.
I tell you what, there's a good battle now developing there for 4th place. Brother Wayne Grubb and Frank Daney going at. There's a good shot of them in 3 and 4. Wayne Grubb on the inside, Frank Daney Jr. on the outside. That's the battle for 4th place.
A mirror image of what you saw Kevin do with BA is now what Wayne is doing to Frank Denny Jr., and they're stacking up behind those two drivers. You got Urban, Sawyers, and Willis all right there.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Those two are racing hard, stacking up behind him, and look at these two at the front again going at it.
Kevin Grubb wants it. It's 40 in the record books. We've got 35 to go past the halfway point here in the first of 2 CarQuest Twin 75s here at the South Boston Speedway. Heavy BOP traffic, not a factor tonight. We haven't seen much of it. You saw the Doki Gob Bagby machine that they went around earlier, but other than that, it's been pretty clear racing so far for these drivers. Not too much incident so far, just a couple of spins, a little bit of sheet metal damage for a few drivers. And right now it looks like as far as the attrition rate's concerned, 4 drivers have officially retired. Number 4 of Jay Fogelman, the 11 of Chuck Hendrick, 28 of Greg Davis, who was a lap down on that restart, is now put in behind the trailer, and as Edwin also alluded to, a tough break for the 92 of Chris Evans.
Man, I tell you what, it's settled down a little bit there up front. Now we can watch this battle here. Those are the guys back 4th, 5th, and 6th place going at it. They've settled down a little bit. You see that the 4 car of Wayne Grubb has gotten by. And now it's going to be Bubba Urban Jr. going to work on Frank Daney Jr. There's that battle up the back straightaway.
Yeah, it looks like Denny's car, it looks like it's going to weigh on him just a little bit, because no sooner than Grubb got around him, he is pulled away from that battle and is trying to catch the front 3 drivers. And now Urban, Sawyers, and Willis are right there, as we mentioned moments ago, stacked up behind him. Call out to Jerry Wayne Vaughn. You mentioned he was a winner of 1996, and that driver in car number 12 quietly is moving himself up into that pack of cars as well.
Kind of giving you an update there through the top 10. Meanwhile, the leaders are going to come back up on some lap traffic here out of turn number 2. Very easily moved to the outside. B.A. Wilson going by the 14 car there. Doki Bagby.
Now that's a handle.
I want you to know, I saw the spelling of that name, and I checked with some of the other drivers to get the proper pronunciation of Doki. It is Doki.
I'm glad you got that straight, because I was going to say Dookie. I saw Dookie on the car, and I said, no, we got to get it straight with him. Well, we're now all strung out around the Speedway. The 02 of Dennis Gardner will be the next car that would go a lap down. He is about a quarter of a turn ahead of your lead duo. Again, Kevin Grubb drops that 55 down to the inside. The Bullets Pontiac looking for the lead for the first time tonight. 47 laps on the board here at South Boston Speedway. Blankenship in a twin 75. Kind of hanging back right now, just satisfied right there. What's on Blankenship's mind, do you think?
Blankenship probably figures these two guys are going to wreck it a little bit, and he's going to be the winner. This time, Kevin's got a good run on the inside. See how he's farther up on the door, of BA's door this time by. He may do it this time out of 4.
Crowd is on their feet at South Boston Speedway. They're dead even at the stripe. They put 49 on the board. Grubb hangs it. He dirt tracks it over in turn number 1 and 2. They've got the lap car of Dennis Gardner coming up, and BA again showing the muscle on the outside as they go back into 3.
That lap car came in a pretty good time there for BA. Well, they're going to go 3 wide down the front straightaway. But Grubb got a little bit sideways there that time in the corner, but coming right back to challenge. Remember, these guys can't abuse the heck out of these cars. They cannot change tires after the first race for the second race. You've got to run the same set of tires in the second 75 that they did in the first 75. And remember, they're paying full track points for both races. Is this asphalt or dirt? Look at them down
I'm telling you, Kevin is dirt tracking, and you were talking about a lap car. You would think sometimes that would be a huge break for the leader. You know, oh, I got a lap car to get around. You know, it's going to get this guy off my butt. Kevin is right there, even with the lap cars that BA's got to negotiate right now. He has given him no breathing room whatsoever. If we stay green, we've got about 5 or 6 lap cars that are about a half a straightaway up in front of this lead duo here at lap number 52, and that could play. And the other Grubb is also on the move as well.
You've got it. Look right there on the inside. That's Wayne Grubb in the 4 car. The outside is Blankenship. And the battle for the lead now. And Grubb's going to take the top spot. The 55 car, Kevin Grubb, going to take the top spot. Look at the battle right behind him, Wayne and Blankenship. And what a great short track race here at South Boston.
Little bit of muscle in turn number 1 and 2. Puts the Bullet Pontiac of Kevin Grubb in the number 1 spot. The ICSE Chevrolet of B.A. Wilson drops back to second. Wayne Grubb We'll now move around Blankenship and into the number 3 spot, and the battle brewing now for 5th. As it continues to be Bubba Urban. He was in that top 5 earlier. Wants to get back in. He looks to the inside of Frank Denny Jr.
That is a good battle right there. Frank Denny Jr., that bright blue car. Bubba Urban Jr., the K95 car. And we've got caution on the Speedway. Trouble in turn 4.
Kevin Johnson in car number 97. He qualified a little bit farther back in the field, 16th as a matter of fact. And some sparks showering from that car. He is high up in turn number 4. And let's see whether he'll be able to come down the start-finish line and get in under his own power. We have got a change on the leaderboard for only the first time or second time here this evening since B.A. Wilson took the green flag back on lap number 1. Kevin Grubb in the Bullets Pontiac 55 is your leader. Should take a gander at the 97 of Johnson with the troubles he has on that car. Working it down off at turn number 2, and we'll see him down on pit road. Well, we are 20, make it 19 laps shy of our checkered flag, the first of the Twin 75s here, sponsored by CarQuest Auto Parts. We'll step aside and return with more Winston Racing Series late model stock car coverage in a moment. Speedway Productions coverage of the Winston Racing Series late model stock cars here at South Boston Speedway. Tonight brought to you by CarQuest Auto Parts Stores, by Duragloss, and by South Boston Speedway. 59 circuits on the board here at South Boston. Kevin Grubb is your leader. Earlier today, we had a chance to talk to both of them, but Wayne Grubb has also had a very good season, and John had a chance to catch up with him earlier this afternoon.
We've got a chance to talk to two of the drivers leading the points here at South Boston Speedway, Kevin and Wayne Grubb, and out front, not just here, but at some other tracks. You two guys are the brothers moving up. A lot of people thinking you may be the next Burtons or maybe the Sadlers, the next thing to come out of Virginia.
I don't know. We're hoping for it. We're getting ready to make a transaction up in the Bush and trucks. We're going up tomorrow to test up in Loudon, New Hampshire. We're just trying to really just go anywhere we can in a late model stock car, and you know we got a good crew. Grubb Motorsports with a link belt construction equipment car. We got a good crew, and you know they're giving us good setups, and we just like to go anywhere we can and run good up front.
You know, I kind of wonder who's going to be chasing who tonight. Kevin's been he's got 3 wins in a row, but these twin races tend to not have repeat winners. Kevin, you going to get both of them tonight?
Dude, it looks like my brother's the one to catch tonight. He seemed pretty fast in practice, and seems like that's who everybody's watching. And you know, hopefully I'll be good in qualifying, because yeah, qualifying is a big deal here at South Boston. If you don't qualify good, and it's real tough to come back on up through the field. You have to have a lot faster car to pass people, and you know, it's hard to do because you got so many good cars here. It's the most competitive track you can come to, and you know, it really shows when you try and pass them.
You know, you've won 3 races in a row now. Kevin won the Winston 300 in the fall race in front of a big crowd here, along with Dan Henley from Sports Marketing Enterprises, and took home the big Winston trophy. But you've also won the first 2 races of the year. What's been the success story for you? I mean, what's been the big thing getting you to victory lane?
Well, big part of it is Hedgecock race cars. Jay Hedgecock, he built both me and my brother a new car for this year, and I tell you, it's awesome. It's a lot different than anything I've driven, and it's a lot faster, but you know, we still got a lot to learn about them. So you know, we're still trying things, and we like I said, that might be why we're a little off this week. You know, but also just getting to know my crew better. We can communicate a little better, and that helps because I can come in the pits, I can tell them what I think the car is doing, and my crew chief knows what I mean by it, so he knows exactly what to do, and we go back out again, we're faster. So that's a big deal. I mean, once you learn to communicate with your crew chief, it'll pick you up a lot.
Okay, Wayne, how about this? This is a big race tonight. John Moose is here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's ready to give out some money to the top 3 drivers, and the top 12 going to get an invitation to either run in the ARCA race or the Grand National race coming up in May. And it's going to have a nice plaque, too. That'd go good on your mount.
Oh yeah, it would. Like I say, you know, Kevin, he's been running good ever since we've been here this year, and you know, he says I'm the one to chase, but he's lying about that. He knows he's the one to chase, but we're going to do what we can, and if we win it, it's going to be, we like a little bit of money, you know. We're going to try to go bush racing. If we get a little money, we'll go to Charlotte.
What do you guys do during the week? You rib each other about who won and who beat who?
There's a little joking around, nothing serious. We'll play around a little bit. Like if we have a close race between the 2 of us, that's when everybody really gets into it with the crew, when both me and him have a good race together, especially when we're doing it for the top position.
Okay, well, good luck to you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, these guys definitely going to the top sooner or later. I can't say when, but the Grubb family, Wayne Kevin Grubb out of Mechanicsville, Virginia.
Field working down into turn number 3 as we get set to go. 59 on the board. It will be 60 when they come back to the stripe. It'll be 15 to go in the first CarQuest Auto Parts Stores Twin 75s here this evening at South Boston Speedway. Again, the Road to Charlotte Invitational. One of these drivers possibly in the top 12. Whoever has got a Busch or ARCA ride will have a chance to go to Charlotte, and I've got to believe number 1 right off the bat, you can stay in the first place. I got to believe Kevin Grubb is going to have a car to take down to Charlotte.
I guarantee you Kevin Grubb could come up with something to run if he's invited down. It's a neat deal and a good way for these guys to step up and get some attention. He is leaving BA on this restart. I mean, just a car length, but in this race, a car length is a lot.
Setting the stage with only 14 circuits to go, Grubb the leader by 3 car lengths over B.A. Wilson. Wayne Grubb now will see what he can do back there in 3rd position. David Blankenship holding on to 4th. It'll be Frank Denny Jr. in the number 5 spot. Bubba Urban Jr., Danny Willis, Rodney Sawyers, followed by Jerry Wayne Vaughn and Steve Stallings, the driver of car number 8. He gets into the top 10 for the first time this evening, and Lockhart just outside the top 10 back there in the 90 car in 11th.
Guys, the brothers are going to try to make it a Grubb show here. Wayne Grubb now going to go to work on B.A. Wilson. Look at that, out of turn number 2.
Wayne Grubb is tough.
Yeah, right up behind him. And BA's thinking, man, I've seen enough of these 2 guys tonight. Here he comes, putting pressure on him down the front straightaway.
Well, the Burtons were able to do it in their era here. The Sadler boys, you know the story. Oh, we got a touch in turn number 2. Mirror image of what Kevin was working on BA about earlier. And now Wayne sends a little greeting card down there in the 2nd turn.
Boy, 2 guys having a great race tonight. Right there, you see Bub Urban Jr. get a little sideways in that K95 car, but he and Frank Daney Jr. in the 1 have had a great race, and action again, the battle for 2nd place.
Once again, it's just enough muscle by Wayne Grubb to get B.A. Wilson up in the higher groove. They'll touch again in turn number 3 and 4. Again, the crowd is on their feet. This time, it's the battle for 2nd. 66 laps are on the board. Here at South Boston Speedway, we have only got 9 laps to go on the first 75 lapper.
Well, Wayne is helping his brother out because his brother getting away as you're watching the battle for 2nd place. Do they touch there? Just about again in 3 and 4. The battle for 2nd place is a good one back in turn 1. And B.A. driving the wheels of it there on the high side. Trouble in turn 4.
Looks to be Doki Bagby and also the 24 of Barry Hopkins. Those 2 spin. They go down to the low groove. Good job for both of those drivers getting out of harm's way rather quickly here at lap number 67. They stay on the racetrack. You mentioned that Barry had some troubles with his car during qualifications, and Doki has had his share of troubles early in the first 75-lap event. That cools down again, a red-hot battle just behind Kevin Grubb. What's on the minds of these drivers that are in the top 4 or 5 spots? We know there's going to be an inversion coming up 4, 5, 6 positions. Everybody content to stick with where they have, or is everybody still gunning for that victory here?
Well, what they're doing as far as the regional points, they're going to split the points, half the first race, half the second race. But as far as the track championship points go, they're awarding full points in both halves of the races. So this race, as far as the championship battle goes, is just like a regular Saturday night 75 lapper, and the other one's going to be another one. So they're taking each race, I think, individually as far as the championship goes here at the Speedway, because you're getting full points for either one.
Earlier tonight, you had a chance to talk to young Chuck Hendrick, the 3rd-generation driver, the grandson of the legendary and late Ray Hendrick, and also the son of Roy. Chuck was one of our first casualties here this evening. John Evans has finally had a chance to catch up with him. Chuck's come back out of the trailer and has a chance to talk to the 3rd-generation driver right now.
Chuck, you out a little early tonight, and tough run. Legendary Hendricks out a little early in his first 75. You going to try to make it back for the second one?
Yeah, I think we're going to make it back. I don't know what happened there. I believe a car got in the back of me. I don't know. I was following the 4 car, holding my line, and I just felt a bump and went around, and then another car, didn't have anywhere to go and got into me. It's just one of them deals, hard to swallow, but you just got to swallow your pride and keep getting it.
I'll tell you what, your grandfather, Ray, had a lot of wins here at this racetrack.
Yeah, I'd like to finish a race, much less, win some. I'm just having hard luck.
Okay, 3rd-generation Hendrick, he's out in this one.
69 laps are in the record books here at the South Boston Speedway, and Edwin, just right around the corner, another very exciting season for the Busch Grand National Series. They'll be coming here to South Boston very soon, and it's always exciting when those guys come to this short track.
What's great is you get a true short track race. You get some of the best drivers in the country. That Busch Grand National division is unreal. Throw out Mark Martin, and it's anybody's race, but when you get to see him on a tight racetrack like this, it's great. The pits are tight. The racing gets tight out there. They run a longer distance race. You've got lap cars. It's wild. So if you get an opportunity to get out here to South Boston Speedway for that, be sure you do. And that is coming up on June the 13th. So be sure you're here. Friday Night Madness under the lights, June 13th, South Boston Speedway, the Busch Grand National
You know,
Division.
those guys have not taken a break yet. I think this weekend they're at Talladega. They have probably about the first 12, 13 races of the season before they get a break. Now, how can those guys do it? I mean, it's simply unbelievable. I mean, the work, the preparation that the Winston Cup guys have gone into, you see that, but the Ironman schedule this year has got to go to the Busch Grand National Series, and I don't know how they do it.
Well, and very few of those guys drive just Busch Grand National. Some are Busch Grand National running some Winston Cup races. Some of the guys have a few truck deals. You know, some of these guys are like Kenny Schrader, and you find them midget racing on a Wednesday night. So those guys stay busy. We're going to get busy here because now we come back around, it'd be just a few laps to the checkered flag.
It'll be lap 72 when they take the green. 3 laps to go. You saw Kevin Grubb. He was able to pull away from B.A. Wilson a little bit. Main reason being as Wayne Grubb, his brother, was all over that rear bumper and eating on that quarter panel.
Driver we've not mentioned tonight, Danny Willis, started back in 10th place. He's up to 7th. That's at car number 2, the Sherwin-Williams KFC car. He's usually a real competitor here, but been kind of quiet so far in this first 75 lapper.
Another driver that people expect to see up front, but I think he's really happy, is David Blankenship. That's a brand new car and a brand new setup for him this year, and he has really been out to lunch struggling trying to get that combination set as we get up through the gearbox and go back to green here at lap number 72. And again, Kevin Grubb with a good jump on the restart, give him a couple of car lengths, and quickly Wayne Grubb pulls right up to the rear decklet of B.A. Wilson.
That is a fabulous restart. To have that type of lead going up the back straightaway, as tight as these cars are, that is super. That's a lot of horsepower as they're getting 2 to go this time by.
Freight train style down into turn number 1 and 2. It's Grubb, Wilson, Grubb, Blankenship, and Denny, with Bubba Urban, Danny Willis, Rodney Sawyers, Jerry Wayne Vaughn, and Steve Stallings, your top 10. One driver spinning almost identically, and this has really been a trouble spot for Matt Williams, the driver of car number 20, for the 3rd time tonight. It's almost a mirror image of what we've seen. Over in turn number 2, we'll stay with the white flag as Williams was able to get into the back pit stall, and we're coming back for the checkered flag. A tough break for Williams as he'll try to come back out on the track and finish. Kevin Grubb takes his 2nd of the 1997 season and the 1st of the CarQuest Auto Parts Twin 75s here at South Boston. The Road to Charlotte Invitational goes to the young Mechanicsville, Virginia driver. B.A. Wilson, the defending track champion, will come home in 2nd. Wayne Grubb will wind up in 3rd. It'll be David Blankenship and Frank Denny Jr., the top 5. Now, the question at hand, the strategy for race number 2, and it ought to be a barn burner with those 2 Grubb boys and your defending champion coming a little bit farther back in the pack to get to the front.
Well, and part of it will be where you start. As you said, there's going to be a redraw. You could end up, you know, your winner here could end up as far back as 6th place. So the redraw will have a lot to do with it. And some of these guys who the cars weren't exactly right, they can go in now. They can anything to do a normal pit stop. If that's a jack little wedge in the car, if that's adjust air pressure, they can do those things. Car can't change tires, can't go and make a shock or spring change, but any of the adjustments you'd make on a normal pit stop, what they can do here. It'd be interesting also to see if some of these guys that were out of the first race can come back in and run the second race. Completely 2 separate races. Starts all over, everybody from scratch when we come back for the green.
As we mentioned, the attrition involved the 4 of Jay Fogelman, the 11 of Chuck Hendrick, the 28 of Greg Davis, the 97 of Kevin Johnson, and the 92 of Chris Evans. As Edwin mentioned, we'll be curious to see which of those drivers, if any of all, will be able to make it back out for the 2nd Twin 75. Young Kevin Grubb out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, in car number 55, the Bullets Pontiac, taking his 2nd victory of this young 1997 season. Obviously, he'll maintain the number 1 spot in the series points. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with an interview with our first winner. Could Kevin Grubb make the sweep? We'll find out in 75 more laps. Well, back at South Boston Speedway, a very quick first 75 laps, only a couple of cautions, and we've still got a repeat winner. We haven't found a new one yet.
I know, and if we have a minute, it's my bologna burger break here. Let me give you the top 10. Refer to my notes here. Of course, Kevin Grubb in 1st, B.A. Wilson was 2nd, Wayne Grubb was 3rd, Blankenship was 4th, 5th place went to Frank Denny Jr., a hard-fought 5th. K95 driver Bubba Urban Jr. was 6th, Danny Willis 7th, Rodney Sawyers was 8th, Shane Lockhart, good run in 9th place, and Steve Stallings, good run for him around at the top 10. Doesn't mean anything. They're going to redraw for the 2nd race.
Right down here in victory lane, this gentleman receiving his 2nd accolade of the 1997 season. It could be 3rd before the night's over. Let's head it down on pit road or right on the start-finish line to John Evans, who's got some words with our feature winner tonight.
You started outside the front row with John Moose here with a presentation, and I know you're happy about the win.
Yeah, I tell you, I hope one day I do get to sit on that pole. it'll make life a lot easier, you know, during the race. You don't have to worry about passing that extra car. But man, I really have to thank Bullets, Peterbilt Trucks for all the help they give us. Also, Morris Johnson, my crew chief, Bobby King, he's also my crew chief on the Super Trucks and also Busch Grand National. And everybody on the crew couldn't do it without them. Also like to thank South Boston Speedway. They give us a great racetrack to run at. And, you know, I've been almost everywhere on the East Coast, and this is why I decided to run every week because it's so nice.
Well, the good news is you win the 75. You're going to have to go 75 more. We're going to find out where you start in just a moment.
Yeah, we're gonna make a couple adjustments to the car, but I think we'll be better for the second race because we're quite, you know, pretty loose on that race, and Morris will get it tightened up, and we'll be even better for the second race.
Okay, Kevin Grubb out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, drives a Bullet-sponsored Pontiac.
All right, John, thanks a lot. Well, Kevin Grubb picks up his second victory of this young 1997 season. One of the support divisions is taking the green flag right now. We'll have a brief pause. The drivers will invert. We'll tell you how many invert in just a few moments and come back with our next 75-lap event for the Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. Welcome back to South Boston Speedway. The support division, the limited stock class, just wrapping up their 40-lap feature event here this evening. As we mentioned, it looked like they were going to invert some of the drivers that finished up front in today's field. The drivers drew pills to determine how they would start in race number 2. Some of the drivers up in the top 6, 8 positions did. We have a very interesting pole sitter who is joined by John Evans down on pit road at this time.
Well, Bubba Urban, you won the luck of the draw in that first event there in the 75-lap race. You drew number 1. You're starting from the pole. Well, matter of fact, it was the last thing left in the pot, so you had to get the pole. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I tell you, sometimes you're better off being lucky than good sometimes.
You know, you guys are kind of new as a team here in 1997, teaming up with the K95 car. You came down, didn't run quite as quick to begin with, but you came off the trailer today and almost looked like you were going to start on the pole.
Yeah, I tell you, the first week down here, we sort of struggled. I think we finished like 9th or 10th. The second week down here, we finished 5th and 6th, I think. And this week, I tell you, the car run a whole lot better. We're getting closer, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have another new car. This is the same car we've always run down here, so hopefully in about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have a brand new car down here, and we'll see how that one runs.
I tell you, the way you're running in that old car, I hate to see you come down here with a brand new car, so does the rest of the drivers.
Yeah, I tell you, we're going to come down here and practice this helm first, and if it runs good in practice, we'll bring it out here, but we'll practice it and get it dialed in before we run it.
Okay, Bubba Urban, he's trying to break that win streak the young Kevin Grubb has set here in 1997. He's got 3 straight. Bubba Urban wants to be the only other winner in 1997.
Well, with that in mind, here is a look at your starting lineup. Edwin, let's take a look at those front 2 rows and see how things are going to shake out here in the second half.
All right, we just heard from our pole sitter, car number 95, Bubba Urban Jr. Next to him in car number 4, that will be Wayne Grubb. Row number 2 on the inside, our first 75-lap winner, the 55 of Kevin Grubb. And next to him, car number 1, Frank Daney Jr.
B.A. Wilson will be looking for that first victory from the 5th starting position in car number 81. The 3 of David Blankenship on the outside of that 3rd row. 2 of Danny Willis and the 85 of Rodney Sawyers back in row number 4.
Cars start to roll out on the speedway, and we go to row number 5 on the inside. Car number 12, Jerry Wayne Vaughn outside. Car number 8, good run for Steve Stallings in the first 75-lapper. Row number 6 on the inside. Car number 90, that's Shane Lockhart. And next to Shane, the number 7 of Vance Wright.
Tyler McRae in car number 41 will go 13th here in the second race. Jimmy Johnson in that Rick Hendrick car number 91 will go 14th. The 36 of Rob Ziegler and the 01 of Len O'Neill round out the top 16 starters.
Row number 9, the final on the inside, the 59 of Kenny Cagle. Next to Kenny, the 24 car of Barry Hopkins. Row number 10 on the inside, the 20 of Matt Williams. And next to Matt will be the 02 car, and that is Dennis Gardner.
Rounding out your final 3 rows, Dokie Bagby in the 14 will go in the number 21 spot. Kevin Johnson in car number 97. He was one of the drivers that fell into the attrition pot. He will go 22nd schedule, but he is still back behind his trailer. The 28 of Greg Davis also was involved in an incident early. Greg is back out, as is the 92 of Chris Evans. He has pulled it away from the trailer. The 4 of Jay Fogelman has also returned as well, and the number 11 of Chuck Hendricks. So it looks like as far as the attrition rate is concerned, the 97 of Kevin Johnson may be the only driver that is not out there. Moments ago, before the drivers got out onto the racetrack, we also had a chance to catch up with another driver that had a very good run in the first segment.
Frank, I tell you what, you got to be an awfully happy guy. You get your first top 5 at South Boston, and, you know, that hadn't been easy to do for a lot of drivers here in the past.
No, you know, I think we finished 3rd one time last year, and then finally with this new team we got a top 5. You know, it was pretty good. I was complaining a lot to the crew. You know, I thought we'd be a lot better, but this crew really likes to work, so we're going to be real good, I think, this next race.
I'll tell you what, you got one of the best crew chiefs in the business. You know, with Chris Rice, he helped take Elliott Sadler to the championship a couple of years ago here at South Boston.
Yeah, you know, I guess I like to say he's the man as far as working on this car. He really knows what to do with it, and the rest of my crew, man, they really work hard during the week and get that thing really prepared good, and all I got to do is turn left, and I mean, it makes my life a whole lot easier.
I'll tell you, I know it's a lot of fun. You know, I've hung out with Chris and them, son. Them guys like to have a good time, so laugh a lot and have a good time.
Yeah, you know, no matter what, we have a good time now. You know, we come to the racetrack and we're going to have fun, you know, and I can hardly wait to get up there and mix it up with those guys and see if we can get us a win. I have a feeling we're going to have a heck of a victory party.
I'll tell you what, you know, you're moving up a spot due to the draw. You're going to start 4th. That'll be outside of row number 2. I know you got to be pretty excited about it. Any changes to the car you want to share with the crowd tonight?
We changed just about everything under it, so we're either going to be real good or real bad. If you see us going forward, then that means we've fixed it. But if we're going backwards, then, you know, we'll be talking on the radio and seeing what else we can try.
Okay, Frank Denny, he's rolling the dice tonight for this second 75-lap event.
Starting lineups are done. We are just about set for the green flag here in the second CarQuest Auto Parts Twin 75. The Road to Charlotte Invitational goes to Kevin Grubb in race number 1. Can he come back and win his 3rd overall? And back-to-back races tonight, we'll find out after these messages. Well, welcome back to South Boston Speedway, and we have got a rather good story developing up front. As we mentioned, the drivers drew pills to determine where they would start here in race number 2. The K95 car, Bubba Urban Jr. will be on the pole position, but he is swarmed by a pair of drivers that haunted B.A. Wilson in race number 1, Edwin.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a Grubb behind him, a Grubb next to him, all around him there, and Frank Daney Jr. back there in row number 2. Be interesting to see what type of line Bubba Urban Jr. runs to try to keep those guys behind him, because he's going to want to run low to keep Wayne behind him in the 4 car, but he'll also like to kind of force Kevin Grubb a little bit high in the 55 car. If the 55 car gets a good restart here, this race could be over on the first lap.
Now, I'm very impressed. We had a chance to hear about Bubba Urban and also Frank Denny, their comments after race number 1. For 2 drivers getting into brand new rides, very impressive here in their first outing, or one of their first few outings of the early part of 1997.
Be interesting to keep our eyes also back there. Number 3 car, David Blankenship. He faded a little bit towards the end of that first 75 lapper, but a lot of experience here. He probably went into the pit area, knew exactly what to do to the car, change tire pressure, take a turn on this corner, that corner. He may be a car that makes an adjustment and is good in this second race.
Not one to be forgotten about. Blankenship will go from the outside of row number 3. Wilson tucked to the inside as they get up through the gearbox and back to the green flag. Our second 75-lap event here in the CarQuest Auto Parts Twins. And quickly, Kevin Grubb, who has got excellent starts, gets the lead, and Urban almost loses it coming off of turn number 2. As a matter of fact, he'll lose another spot to Frank Denny. Wayne Grubb is on the outside as they come back for lap number 1.
Boy, we said start's going to be important here, and a great start for Kevin Grubb, and then Bubba Urban got a little sideways. That could have been real messy there at the front of the field, but look at Grubb running away. Now, look at the battle there for second place.
Frank Denny, for the moment, has got it. Bubba Urban wants a piece of one of those spots back. If he can get it, he draws even in turn number 1 and 2. Wayne Grubb is hot on Urban's heels down to the inside. Back in 4th position, Wilson holding on to 5th. Blankenship in 6th. Danny Willis with some power. Back in 7th. Rodney Sawyer's early in 8th. Steve Stallings in the number 9 spot. And Shane Lockhart rounds out the early top 10.
Boy, hats off to Bubba Urban Jr. He got sideways. He had a terrible start to the race, but he battles back and will reclaim now second spot. So hats off to that driver, not getting down because he messed up on the start there and working his way back to second place. That's a good piece of driving.
He easily could have gone back to that 4th, 5th, 6th spot, and he shows some veteran-type experience that he's got in the very early stages of his racing career. Now we've got Wilson and Denny side by side. B.A. wants to get back up in there and get some revenge here in race number 2.
Hey, guy's got to be scratching his head this year. It's got to be B.A. Wilson. As we said, 9 feature wins here last season, and now he has watched young Kevin Grubb take 3 in a row. So he wants to get up there and race. And by the way, we mentioned this, you and I, when we were on break. For those people who don't realize it, Kevin Grubb, that driver right there, coming out turn number 4, is in his senior year of high school. That makes me feel old.
And you talk about, you know, those guys, he and Wayne trying to do some bush and truck racing. You also understand that B.A. is trying to get himself a Slim Jim All-Pro ride put together as we got a major tangle in turn number 2. It was triggered by the number 7 of Vance Wright, one of the rookies in the field. There you see the 14 of Doki Bagby just backing into the driver's side door. And Vance was a driver we were talking about off camera moments ago. He finished, I believe, in 12 in that first race as a rookie. And from what we understand, the first couple of races this year, Vance has had some very solid runs.
We'll have to wait until everybody gets into pit road, see what kind of damage. Everybody had gotten on the brakes, just kind of slid into each other. No real hard contact there. Vance will come on around. He's headed for pit road. And under caution here for the first time, 7 laps complete. And now we get to bunch him back up and see if Bubba Urban can make some amends on this next restart.
Turn 2 seems to be the trouble spot tonight for a lot of the drivers. We've seen Matt Williams almost do 3 spins identical, 1 in time trials and 2 during the race, the first 75-lap segment. Don't know whether there's a little bit of moisture down there. There's been a little bit of fluid dumped earlier, but now the safety crews are going out to check it out right now.
Several cars involved in that. Let's take a look at it again here. And you're right, action spot there in turn number 2. And there's Chuck Hendrick getting involved in it. That's a shame because that young man has had a tough evening, and he's back in the pit area now. So tough night for that third-generation driver. That's been tough.
Just to update our racing fans, if you were curious as to what drivers that went out in race number 1 came back for race number 2, the only driver that did not make it back out, unfortunately, was the number 97 of Kevin Johnson. They have already loaded that car up onto the trailer. Edwin just mentioned the 11 of Chuck Hendrick on pit road. The 7 of Vance Wright now joins him right behind there. And also the number 91 of Jimmy Johnson. Latest protege from Rick Hendrick. The man must see something in this driver. We're going to have to watch him very carefully in the next couple of years and see whether Rick Hendrick was on the money. He's been on the money with a lot of drivers.
Yeah, and I believe that driver is Jimmy Johnson. I believe they said a West Coast guy from out west, coming here to the east to race. I'm not positive on that, but I heard some folks talking they did done some racing on the West Coast. Look like we're going to have a little while here because they're working there in turn number 2, Doki Bagby's car, and looks like that number 7 of Vance Wright may be done for the evening. Saw a bunch of steam, obviously lost a radiator there in that 7 car, so that's unfortunate. As you mentioned, he had a good run in the first race, came home 12th, and that's no easy feat in a field of 26 at South Boston.
Jimmy Johnson sped off pit road moments ago. He joins them back down there again. It continues to be Vance Wright and also Chuck Hendrick also getting some work done to their cars. Doki Bagby, as we just saw, the number 14 getting the hook over in turn number 2. Now, as we also mentioned, one driver making his first appearance here for 97 at South Boston Speedway is the CMO sign vinyls machine of Lynn O'Neill, the driver out of Richmond, Virginia, in car number 01. Lynn with a pretty decent qualifying effort earlier, and earlier today, John Evans had a chance to catch up to this young driver and talk about his thoughts and impressions on the upcoming season.
Lynn, welcome to South Boston Speedway for this big night of racing, twin 75s. You may get your first career victory here tonight. These 75s tend to have some of the best, you may have some of the best experience maybe getting that first win tonight.
Well, maybe I ought to park at the first one, have brand new tires for the second one. That's what happened to me at Southside last year. No, we're going to try to run it, and we'll pretty much use this as a big practice session because it's kind of hard for the guys in Richmond to get down here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, you know, what better night to come when you got 2 races. So if it does bad in the first one, change something. Go for it the second one.
Anybody can run that south side, man. They can get around a short track. That's some good experience for any driver.
Yeah, it's a whole lot tighter than here. This feels like a super speedway compared to what we're used to. But, you know, I need to get more bank track experience, and we're going to go here and Caraway and probably Orange County a little bit this year.
So you're going to move around a little bit and gain some experience, maybe get a chance to move up to one of the Touring Series divisions.
We were looking, you know, maybe doing something with the Pro Cups that run a little bit, but I think we're going to try to do something maybe with a truck or something next couple of years.
Well, CMO Sign Vinyl has been a big part of your sponsorship throughout your racing career in the last couple of years. And one thing about it, having a Sign Vinyl company sponsor your car, you got the best looking car out here.
Yeah, and you know, I let a lot of the race cars out here. I let Kevin Grubbs and Wayne Grubbs and, of course, my own car. So, you know, we use that vinyl, and it's no faster.
Well, you know, Kevin's been winning. He's won 3 in a row if you go back to last year's big money race. So that's some slick vinyl.
Yeah, it's good for at least 2/10 faster.
Okay, Lynn O'Neill tonight looking for his first win in the CMO Sign Vinyl sponsored machine.
Well, back here at South Boston, and of course we wish Lynn O'Neill the best of luck. The CMO Sign Vinyls car, by the way, is on pit road. As a matter of fact, the one driver that got the most damage over in that turn 2 incident appears to be the number 7 of rookie driver Vance Wright. John, what's the story on that driver down there?
Well, both Hendrick and also here tonight Vance Wright, both cars have been cut off here on pit road as both teams are looking to work on those machines. Vance Wright may have just too much damage to go tonight. He pulls the steering wheel off of the number 7 Parker Oil Company Ford. they'll go ahead and park that car for the night. That's a tough break for the driver who was leading the chase for the rookie championship in 1997. And also we know as well here Chuck Hendrick, who is son of Roy Hendrick. Grandfather was Ray Hendrick, who was one of the best in the business. He's out early as well here in this second 75-lap event.
Caution remains out. We are at lap number 10 again, as the case in this first event. The caution laps will be counting here this evening, so we are at lap number 10 right now. The 14 of Dokie Bagby will be the latest driver to go off on the hooks of the attrition. Right now here, the early part of the second race is already starting to mount up.
Let me correct one thing. We flip-flop a name there. The 97 car who didn't make it back out for this race was Kevin Thompson, and we'd said Kevin Johnson, Kevin Thompson. So we know these guys get on the TV races, and we make them mad if we say their name wrong. So we'll correct that. Yeah, that was surprising that we started the second race with 25 cars from the original field of 26. So that's pretty good, as a lot of cars went to the pits early in that first 75 lapper. Nothing really wrong, nothing too major with them, but a lot of drivers in the pits early in the first 75, and this one so far has been mostly under caution.
Well, right now, working lap number 11, Kevin Grubb is the leader. We talked about Bubba Urban Jr. and how he basically gathered himself back in to get back into second. Wayne Grubb remains in third. B.A. Wilson and Frank Denny Jr. the early top five. David Blankenship right now will hold on to the number 6 spot. Seventh going to Danny Willis. He's shown a little horsepower, and I think you'll see he and Blankenship have a good battle here on the restart. Back in 8th position, the 85 of Rodney Sawyers. Steve Stallings in car number 8 holding on to 9th, and the number 90 of Shane Lockhart. He finished 11th in race number 1. Currently finds himself back there in 10th. Not a good situation on pit road. It looks like simultaneously we will see the 11 and the 7 of Chuck Hendrick and Vance Wright both pull their cars back behind the trailer. They will become the first 2 official casualties here in race number 2.
Let's go for an update. John Evans has caught up with the driver, Vance Wright. John?
Vance, I tell you, we had a good run in that first race again. You've had a good year here running for the rookie title in 1997, but you know, I really didn't see what happened over in turn 2, but what really happened?
Well, things have been going pretty good for us, but a car behind me just might have got a little overanxed or something. I'm not sure. I got tapped in the rear and it sent me on around. I might have slowed down. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just a rookie learning. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm not putting any fault on anybody. Just one of those racing things. We'll be back next time and hopefully do a little better.
You know, you need to do good for the rest of them saddlers up there in Emporia, Virginia. They're in Busch Grand National competition now, and I know you're pulling for them today at Talladega, and good luck to you. We'll see you back next week.
Well, thank you. I sure appreciate it.
12 laps in the record books. We'll step aside here at South Boston Speedway in the CarQuest Twins 75. Kevin Grubb, your leader. We'll be back with more green flag action in just a few moments. South Boston Speedway, lap number 14 about to be recorded on the board. The vast majority of this first 14 and soon to be 15 laps once they take the green has been under the caution. Matt Williams in the 20 and also the 91 of Jimmy Johnson returning back to the racing wars. And right now, Edwin, it is not looking too good. We just mentioned moments ago while we went to commercial break with Kevin Grubb in front, that means misery for the rest of this field.
Well, just a second ago, they give the 1 to go before we go back to green. Let's watch Kevin Grubb on this restart and watch, I mean, like, it's the phrase used all the time, shot out of a cannon, but watch him on the restart. That's just a lot of horsepower, getting through the gearbox quickly, but let's watch him. This is where he'll muff it. He won't have a good restart. He's been great all night. Watch him on these restarts.
He was very impressive on the initial start from the outside of row number 1, and there you see it as he comes off at turn number 4, getting a couple of car lengths already on Bubba Urban Jr. as they come down to the start-finish line and head back off into turn number 1. Wayne Grubb reigning back in third. B.A. Wilson now with pressure from Frank Denny Jr. and Danny Willis also pressuring David Blankenship as they came off that turn, and they stay single file.
Another impressive restart for Grubb. Meanwhile, you know, this is going to be a great race, but I think it may be for second.
Could be. We could see in race number 1, we could not go beyond the top 5-6 cars before we saw the battle for the lead. Maybe here in race number 2, the way it looks, we might have a chance to talk about some of the other drivers we haven't had the opportunity to talk about tonight.
Saw some sparks there from Bubba Urban's car as he went down. Might have just hit a bump or something. But keep an eye on him. That time he was fine. But saw a few sparks there the last lap or so. Boy, there's a good battle. The 92 car, Chris Evans, who didn't get a whole lot of laps in the first race, trying to work his way back up through this field as he comes out of turn number 4.
That's back for about 11th, 12th position, and that's a credit to his crew to get that car put back together, and he is knocking on the door to try to get into the top 10 here this evening, working on the inside of former 4-cylinder driver Tyler McRae.
Yeah, Tyler McRae, a 2-time mini-stock champion at the Southside Speedway in Richmond, making the move to late model.
Good sponsor. sponsorship on the hood of that car. You see the Square D logo, the same as Kenny Wallace on the Winston Cup Series. And now Tyler has to get out of the throttle just a little bit and allows Chris Evans to go underneath of him. Kenny Cagle, the 59, may be the next one to challenge him. As we mentioned, that's back in about 11th, 12th, 13th spot.
Good racing. There's Jay Fogelman making a move underneath. That is for position and a battle now for second place. That's Bubba Urban Jr. on the high side and Wayne Grubb on the inside. And Grubb trying to make it a 1-2 Grubb run here as they're back down in 1 and 2.
Wayne is going to try to equal the score with brother Kevin. Kevin's now got 2 victories to Wayne's 1 here in the early part of 1997. Urban again has been able to fend him off, and we'll see how long that can last. B.A. Wilson remains back there in that number 4 position with Frank Denny in 5th. Blankenship and Willis remain together back there in the number 6 and 7 spot. Then a little bit of a gap. Go about 5, 6, 7 car lengths back to the Rodney Sawyer's machine. Steve Stallings and then Shane Lockhart. Chris Evans, as we mentioned, also on the move just behind there, challenging on the inside of Jerry Wayne Vaughn. That's about the only challenge we have for position within the top 12, 13 spots right now.
You realize if Kevin Grubb hangs on and wins this thing, here we are, will be 4 races into the season, and he'll be the only driver to make it to victory lane in this late model stock car division at one of the most competitive late model stock car tracks in the entire country. That's impressive.
A third of the way through when they come back to the start-finish line this time by. It is really getting crowded back for that number 2 spot. It continues to be Urban, Grubb, and Wilson. You could throw a blanket under them when he went down that back straightaway moments ago. Denny in the number 1 tries to catch up, but Kevin is checking out. He's got about a quarter of a straightaway lead and doesn't look like he's going to let it give up any.
Nice job on Bubba Urban Jr.'s part. Wayne Grubb had gotten underneath of him. Thought for sure Wayne was going to take that second spot, and Bubba did a nice job getting off the corner and shutting the door on him. Again, Grubb's on the inside, but that K95 car with some good horsepower, and now look at B.A. coming up there giving him a little tap. B.A. would like to get back up front and try to win this thing.
He took a peek on the outside in turn 1 and 2. He looks on the inside coming off of turn number 4, and we also got to credit Chris Evans moments ago. He got around the Jerry Wayne Vaughn machine, and that'll put him in 11th position right behind the 90 of Shane Lockhart. So this driver trying to make amends after the disaster in race number 1 to try and at least get a top 10 run here this evening.
Good battle for second place. These guys back down in 1 and 2. Wayne Grubb on the inside, Bubba Urban Jr. on the outside. Defending track champion B.A. Wilson there in the 81 car. And that man, nice again. He gets up on the high side, able to hold off Wayne Grubb, but for how long?
Well, Urban's been able to hold him off on the high side. Let's see if Wilson can pass him on the high side.
Yeah, look at B.A. says, well, if you can hold him off on the high side, maybe I'll go up there and try it. And there's B.A. on the high side. Gives Urban a little bit of a tap, but B.A. going to try to make a pass on the high side. That's wild racing right there.
Well, I tell you, as he came off that 4th turn, it looked like he had the notion of threading the needle and coming right up in between the 2 of them. We know better of that here at South Boston Speedway. But once again, he'll have to fall back in line to the number 4 spot. Meanwhile, we mentioned about a quarter of a straightaway lead moments ago for Kevin Grubb. That battle has now made it into a full straightaway lead, and trouble just in front of the drivers in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. There you see the 24 of Barry Hopkins. Not a good night for that driver, and he almost looped it just in front of those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars.
That's the best racing on the racetrack right there, that group you're looking at, because as you can see, you can't even see the leader in front of him. Kevin Grubb has checked out on this field, but that is a great battle. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and now 5th.
And Willis gets into Blankenship just a little bit as he came off turn number 2. Blankenship able to save it, but by the time he can, Willis ducks underneath. The KFC Pontiac has now moved himself up into the number 6 spot. Blankenship will go back to 7th, the 8th position. Will be going to the 85 of Rodney Sawyers. You know, Rodney really hasn't been right on the setup tonight. I expected to see him just a little bit closer to the front tonight, and he's been a top 10 car, but maybe like an also ran tonight, and that's not a vintage Rodney Sawyers that we've seen in the past.
Driver that had a good run in the first half was Steve Stallings. He had a top 10 finish, but now that number 8 driver has brought his Pontiac onto pit road, and they don't seem too busy down there. Maybe done for the evening.
Looks like a lot of fluid could be jumping from the tail end of that car, and that's not a good sign for the driver of car number 8, as you mentioned, having a great top 10 run in race number 1. As the field puts 35 laps on the board here this evening in the second 75-lap event. Kevin Grubb working over in turn number 3 and 4. He's got about a straightaway lead. He works around a couple of back markers, one of those being the Jimmy Johnson machine, the other one for Dennis Gardner. And basically, it's just a day at the races. He's just got the one arm out the window probably and just one hand on the wheel and just having a good old time right now.
It literally is one day at the races, isn't it? He makes it look so easy out here. That car is so incredibly smooth. Doesn't even look like he's driving it hard. If you watch him in practice, You know, if you didn't know anything, you came out here and just watch the practice, you'd go, man, that car's not going very fast.
These drivers used to always tickle me when they go out for qualifying, watching them. A lot of them would have the one arm, the hand just resting on the bar right beside them. They'd be out there qualifying for a 2-lap session with one hand on the wheel. It just is a testament to how well these cars can stick if you have the right setup on the machine.
Man, he's got the right setup. He's a full straightaway head. There's a look at second, third, and fourth. And Kevin Grubb's not even in the picture. He has run away from them. I mean, and we're only, what, 39 laps in this thing. Thank goodness this thing were 300 laps. And Grubb hooked up this well. He got one of those 90 laps of the field, and that doesn't happen very often.
Well, he is serving notice. This has got to scare the living daylights out of some of his future competition. This is the newest sensation in Winston Racing Series late model stock car action. One of the newest rising stars. He, along with his brother Wayne, as we mentioned earlier, are trying to qualify in half for some Craftsman Truck Series events, also the Busch Grand National Series. Race number 1, as we mentioned, it was the Road to Charlotte Invitational, which that means if Kevin does have a Busch or ARCA ride, our car can get into that field and try and qualify. And that should be very interesting, but because for the better part of his career so far, as he's tried for the Truck Series and also Busch, we've seen short tracks. This could be the first major speedway that he would be on if he can qualify. That would be interesting to watch.
I tell you what, I'm surprised B.A. Wilson, there's a look at second, third, and fourth, that B.A. has not been able to get by Wayne Grubb. It looked like he was going to get by him easily. Now he's backed off a car length, maybe 2 car lengths as they get back into 3.
Frank Denny was also up in the thick of that battle earlier, and now he has also dropped back from that second, third, and fourth battle. Danny Willis remains back in the number 6 spot. David Blankenship is holding on to 7th. It continues to be Rodney Sawyers in the 8th position. Shane Lockhart holding on to 9th. And the number 12 of Jerry Wayne Vaughn rounding out the top 10.
If this is your first model stock car race to see of the season, you may be saying, well, the cars look a little bit different. NASCAR made a rules change during the off-season, and the very popular Camaros and Firebirds, which have been a mainstay of this division for years, were decided they weren't going to run those body styles anymore. So guys who wanted to keep the Pontiac, some of them already had the Grand Prix body, others didn't. They went to the Grand Prix body. If you wanted to run the Chevrolet, you either had to run the Monte Carlo, or you could run the old Lumina body. So that's some of the changes that have been made. The Fords are still running the Thunderbird, but if the cars look a little different, it's because they've made a change on the body styles for the late model stock cars. I think that was just an opportunity for NASCAR to kind of modernize the division a little bit.
They are some good-looking machines out there, but things settle down right now. We did have a chance to catch up with some other drivers in the field. We mentioned that Shane Lockhart was one of many drivers that has got a new ride for the 1997 season. It was only a couple of years ago in that popular K95 car that Shane scored one of the biggest wins in late model stock car racing down at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. And with this new ride, Shane is having a good run here tonight. John Evans had a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier here this afternoon.
Shane, the last time we talked to you here on Home Team Sports, you were in Southside. You had a pretty rough night on that Friday night, but you made the move down here to South Boston here in 1997. You've had a couple of races to try out the Speedway and see how it is, and you're currently 16 points. Not bad. You had a 10th and 11th so far this year. You're having a pretty good start so far.
Yeah, it hadn't been too bad. You know, we're down here with a new team and a bunch of new personnel, new cars, new track. You know, everything's all new to me, and you know, we're struggling getting going here, but you know, things aren't too bad. We've had a few bad luck early on in the season, but we're getting it a lot better.
What about Sandy Stigall, the car owner? He's been in the business a long time, and he's had some of the best in the business when it comes to racing.
Well, you know, Sandy, you know, he's got awful good equipment, and he doesn't mind spending the money and what it takes, whatever it needs. You know, he's offered to do it for us, and we're basically running it with no sponsorship and looking for sponsors. But, you know, we're not skimping on the equipment. Sandy's doing everything he can to put the car up front.
Big race tonight, Twin 75's. It's time to make it or break it. A good night for the move up in the points.
Well, yeah, it really is, you know, and the good thing about that is we got 75 laps, and, you know, providing we make that without tearing the car up or anything, we got time to adjust on it and come back and run another 75 laps. So it's good for me trying to get used to this racetrack.
Well, one thing about it, Sandy Stigall's in the cleaning business, so you probably got the cleanest driving suit in all the racing.
Yeah, we're trying to smell good and look good, if nothing else.
Okay, Shane Lockhart, he's a former Martinsville champion, and he won the Southside Championship 3 years running. Shane Lockhart.
49 in the record books here at the South Boston Speedway in the CarQuest Auto Parts Twin 75's. Kevin Grubb is your leader, 25 laps away from our latest checkered flag this evening. We'll be back with more green flag coverage in a moment. Speedway's Productions coverage of Winston Racing Series late model stock car action tonight here at the South Boston Speedway in Virginia is brought to you by CarQuest Auto Parts Stores, by Duragloss, and by South Boston Speedway. Edwin, things are getting a little hairy back in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, Kevin's checked out on this field, but let's go back a little bit farther. There's the number 1 car of Frank Denny Jr. We've got caution on the Speedway. He and Danny Willis were about to get into a real exciting race there when this caution came out for the 24 of Barry Hopkins, and Barry has had a rough evening.
Barry does loop it back around and get going, but what you were about to say?
Well, I was just going to say, you want to know how well Kevin Grubb is running? He just put a lap on Jay Fogelman. Now, Jay had some problems in the first 75 lapper, but just put a lap on Jay Fogelman. Some of the other guys that are down a lap, the 01 car, Len O'Neill, who runs real well, he is a lap down. I mean, that gives you an idea of how fast Kevin Grubb is running. The battle was just starting to heat up for second place. This is going to bunch things back up, but the question is, can anybody stick with Kevin on those restarts? And, you know, wouldn't you love to get into Kevin's brain and find out, okay, from last year to this year, what did he discover? Is it a horsepower? Is it just the learning curve? What is he doing this year that he didn't do last year, other than running a heck of a lot faster?
Well, we don't know, but we know one thing. He did do his homework, and he has had a whale of a season. A team that is trying to get their homework done and get things figured out is a gentleman that is no stranger to victory lane in championships over the course of his career. 5 times a champion here at the South Boston Speedway, David Blankenship. He's won many more indeed. Earlier today, John Evans had a chance to catch up with the gentleman that is trying a new combination on his car. He hasn't found victory lane yet, but he had a chance to catch up with David earlier today and find out what needs to be ironed out on that machine to get him back in victory lane here this year.
Well, you have to think David Blankenship is one of the favorites here at South Boston. I was kidding you a little while ago about you are to what Richard Petty is to Martinsville, the king of Martinsville Speedway, and Ray Hendrick as well. But you've got 5 track championships here, but it was on a different surface, Dave. You're on the 4/10 of a mile now. Something new tonight, no driver has swept the 75s or twin 100s since they changed the track to 4/10 of a mile.
Yeah, it's only been a few of us that have done that. You know, like I said, that was the old track. I think it was Barry, Wayne Patterson, and myself, and hopefully we can do it tonight. It's a tough racetrack anymore, and the competition is really tough, but we got a good car tonight. I really feel confident about how we're going to run. Hopefully we can stay there for 75 laps.
I'll tell you, a new car for you this year, the new body styles for 1997. The fans are getting something similar to what the All-Pro Series is. They look a lot like the All-Pro cars do now.
Yeah, they really do. In fact, that was the first thing I told Steve when I went and looked at it after he got the body put on the car, and I told him, I said, man, that looks like an All-Pro car. And he does an exceptional job on these cars. Wilkerson Woods, backs us up with Tom's Minute Mart, and it's a really awesome looking car, and the fans should really be happy with the way the cars appear on the racetrack this year.
Well, how about the new year? Now, Steve James been around a long time. He's one of the best in the business, setting up a car and getting it to run straight. You guys have struggled a little bit out of the box first couple of races. Usually by now, David Blankenship's at least won one race by now, but you guys haven't cracked victory lane yet.
Yeah, it's really weird. We really felt like we were as good a shape at the beginning of this year as we were last year, which was the first year I had driven for Steve. But we lost our best engine at Martinsville Speedway at the beginning of the year, and that just put us behind a little bit. Like I said, that was our best engine. It's been taking us a little while to get things back in line. Built this brand new engine. Wally's Precision Machine in Richmond, Virginia builds them. Just a dynamite engine every time he builds one, but this engine was off just a touch, and it showed up on the racetrack. But I think we're getting things back dialed in now.
Okay, David Blankenship, Moselle, Virginia, got to be one of the favorites, and he loves those pole position awards, so watch out tonight in qualifying. It's cool, track's in good shape. You may see David on the pole tonight for that first 75-lap event.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Edwin. It's not going to be long, as we mentioned many times before Blankenship gets back in victory lane. Might be a little bit tougher. This will be a major challenge, as well as the Grubbs have been running. BA is going to turn it up a notch to do even better to beat them and everybody else. So this could be the toughest season that Blankenship has faced.
Well, a lot of drivers facing challenges. As we mentioned, Frank Denny Jr. now having the opportunity to work with Elliott Sadler's former crew chief, but that takes a little bit of a learning curve. The 90 car Shane Lockhart, he's in a new car, had a great car early this season, destroyed it, had to rebuild a race car. He's still learning. The guy who's teaching the class right now is taking the green flag out of turn 4.
There is another person that is holding the class here today. It is Kevin Grubb, and he is teaching everybody what the backside of that car looks like here this evening. 56 laps on the board. We are 19 shy of the checkered flag tonight in the CarQuest Win 75's, our second. And, of course, as if it wasn't already a stout enough start every time, now he's got lap traffic to ate him on the restart.
Yes, Jay Fogelman and also the 28 car Greg Davis, kind of a buffer between your leader and third place. Now Bubba Urban Jr. going to start to work some of that lap traffic. And looks like trouble on the number 2 car. Danny Willis is off the pace in that car, number 2. There he is coming out of turn number 4. Willis had worked himself up, I believe, to about 6th place, but obviously something's gone awry on that KFC car.
And you know, by the time that Bubba and company get around Jay Fogelman in a second, I think Kevin's going to be sitting in victory lane eating a sandwich, because this has just been the type of night he has had. Urban working the outside of Fogelman here at lap 59. Grubb already has got at least a half a turn lead. Wayne Grubb follows in third. It continues to be Wilson in the number 4 spot. Frank Denny Jr.'s also got some traffic to get through. He's back in 5th.
To follow up on that story with Danny Willis, he brings that Pontiac into pit road, pulls it nose first into his parking spot, and Danny Willis, a former winner here at the Speedway, done for the evening.
Now, as this race started out, it looked like the attrition was going to be a lot higher than race number 1, but now as we look, it looks like it's about the same. Kevin Thompson's 97 already on the trailer. Chuck Hendrick in the 11, the number 7 of Vance Wright, the rookie. Most recently, the 8 of Steve Stallings, and now the number 2 of Danny Willis. So about the same amount of drivers, so it hasn't been a bad night overall in both of the 75-lap events.
This one's going to get over in a hurry here. Your leader has got open racetrack to work with. You know, one thing I've noticed, maybe it's not, we've had a lot of green flag, I'm not sure. The groove is not moved up as high on this racetrack. Maybe it's because we had 75 and then a break and then another 75. But you run a 200-lap race here, and we talked about this afternoon, buddy, you'll see that groove move up and up. And it's the drivers that can adapt to that change in racetrack that tend to do best. Maybe these have been 2 shorter sprint-type races. I imagine Kevin Grubb and these guys are running about the same line they did even in qualifying today.
63 laps on the board, make it 64, and 11 to go here this evening in the second 75-lap segment. And Bubba Urban gets out of shape on his own going into turn number 1 and 2. Wayne Grubb, I think he was caught by surprise because Wayne also slipped a little bit. I don't think he expected what he saw, but it was just a slip by Urban himself. He was able to maintain that number 2 spot. Grubb is right on the rear. Jack Lid back in 3rd. Wilson in 4th, and Denny remains in 5th with a couple lap cars between himself and the rest of the field.
That is a good battle for 2nd place. Bubba Urban Jr. a couple times has opened the door for the guys behind him, then stood right back on it and kept those guys in check. So that's been a good race there. They've kind of settled down. They've got a big advantage now over the 5th place car, Frank Denny Jr. In fact, Frank's almost a full straightaway behind as your leader comes back out of turn number 4, this time by what? It's going to put 57 on the board.
David Blankenship remains back there in the number 6 spot. Then you got the 90 of Shane Lockhart that will now move up into 7th. Dogfight farther back. Rodney Sawyer holds on to 8th. Jerry Wayne Vaughn in that number 9 spot. And after that, it could be a guess because everybody's been shuffled up most recently with a few cautions and a lot of hard running by Kevin Grubb. He has really just put terror on this field here at lap number 58.
Well, Wayne Grubb's going to try it one more time. This time he's got a good run underneath the Bubba Urban. Let's see what he can do. See, remember earlier we saw B.A. Wilson trying to go up high, and now there are almost 3 different grooves coming out of the corner. That's a good race. They're back in 1 and 2, and B.A. just trying to decide right now which line to follow.
Bubba took a very high line coming off turn 4, bobbled slightly, but is still able to draw even with Wayne Grubb. He holds on to the number 2 spot for the moment. Field coming back for lap number 75 to go. And if you had to call it right there, give it to Lockhart. But just in front, trouble. Barry Hopkins and also the 59 of Kenny Cagle get together, 1 down low and 1 up high. And as those 2 drivers vying for second, running side by side, that's got to raise your eyes quite a bit, raise the eyebrow.
Yeah, that'll make you think twice. Well, now this will be interesting, and if for only no other reason that at least this time on the restart, there won't be lap cars in between 1st and 2nd place. But Kevin has been so good on the restarts. He's got to feel real confident. When you're that confident, it just, it breeds confidence.
Well, we're going to keep it right here for the final 4 circuits in tonight's Winston Racing Series late model stock car action. Kevin Grubb might just need one more time to get up through the gearbox and get himself to victory lane for the 3rd time in this young 1997 season. Again, as Edwin just mentioned, it will be no lap traffic between those front 4 machines, so this is it. If anybody has anything for the 55, they've got to prove it now.
I think somebody who could is the 81 of B.A. Wilson, but B.A.'s had such a hard time getting by the 2 guys in front of him. They've run side by side a bunch. So B.A. may be the quicker of the 3 cars, but with those guys running side by side so much, it's been tough for that defending track champion to get up there. I think he might be one car who can run. We had mentioned before we went green on this race to keep our eyes on the number 3 of David Blankenship. Blankenship still has not worked out the combination on that car. He's running back there now in 6th place. There's a look at Blankenship's car. As you talk, he's still working it out. I thought he might be able to get up there and race with Kevin Grubb here in the second 75. Just didn't work out.
Well, a reminder to all of our fans as we get close to wrapping up our first coverage here of South Boston Speedway in 1997. If you have the opportunity, be sure and come down on June the 13th. The NASCAR Busch Grand National Series will make their latest appearance here at this famed track. The track that has just propelled so many racing careers, and of course that was one of the main storylines we were working on earlier, the brother combination of the Grubbs. We've seen the Sadlers. Boy, talk about Elliott. We got to sneak him in here. We've talked about him a little bit, but I mean, he has really grown by leaps and bounds in just one season with the Diamond Ridge team, finally getting some much-needed sponsorship. But how about 2 Diamond Ridge cars just running unsponsored, but just running up front each and every week?
Well, that's impressive because when you're running, you know, that 29 and the 8 car on the Busch Grand National Circuit, when you're doing that and you don't have money behind you, you know sooner or later you're going to attract some sponsorship, but it's tough to keep going at that time. While we have a second, thank Mason Day and his wife, super hospitality again. Whenever we come down here to do these races for Home Team Sports, just the finest people to work with. And what's nice is whether you're a fan, a competitor, a member of the media, man, they're going to treat you like you're the most special person here. So it's great. It's just a great place to come. The drivers enjoy it, fans enjoy it. We enjoy coming down here. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's a beautiful facility. If you ever have the chance, please come on out to South Boston Speedway. Black flag was issued to one driver. That's the 59 of Kenny Cagle. He is now bringing that car down on pit road. And as the caution did come out moments ago, the 91 of Jimmy Johnson, who has had more than a share of troubles, also brought that car down into the pits. He still sits in his pit stall at this time. Cagle's crew going underneath the right front of that machine, checking him out, trying to get him back out as they get the 1 to go indication. We are 74 in the record books here, and well, it's just been Kevin Grubb's night. We keep it sound. I'm sure we sound like a broken record up in the booth, but I mean, it's just been an awesome performance by this young driver.
So let's see here. Let's run through these top 5 here. Kevin Grubb, Bub Urban Jr., Wayne Grubb is 3rd, B.A. Wilson 4th, 5th is Frank Daney Jr., then 6th. Nice run, Shane Lockhart. Come back there. He's running 6th. Rodney Sawyers is 7th. And we may have to wait to the final rundown to go after that because there's a lot of lap cars mixed in there. But I think that's your top 7 going back to Rodney Sawyer.
I do believe Jerry Wayne Vaughn is 8th. He's had a good run. The number 12 car is on lap. After that, you got him. I think the 92, I believe the Chris Evans machine, he's also had a good run in this second race. He was knocking on the door early in the top 10. Like you say, other than that, it's a lot of shuffling of the deck.
Do not worry. We'll give you the complete rundown before we go away so you can check on how your favorite is done. Interesting, Kenny Cagle got the black flag there. There's a shot of Kenny in the pit area. He spun over there, and then he continued around the track, and I don't know if maybe there's a problem on the 59, something leaking or something, but it looks like Cagle is done for the evening in that Motor Circuit Chevrolet.
They had a crew member going under the right front of that car, but now it looks like they will take the hard left and pull it right up to the backside of that trailer. He, along with the 24 of Barry Hopkins, the other driver involved over in the first and second turn. Now, the fans here at the Speedway, the scoreboard says 75 laps, but it will not end under a caution and checkered. We will have the dash to the finish, so we still have a little excitement left here this evening.
Will we get a green and then a white and then a checkered? Is that what we're going to get?
That's what we're going to get. That's what the indication is, and it should be a whale of a finish. Even if Grubb gets up to one of those patented starts and gets about a 4 or 5 car length advantage, we are still not done for second, third, and fourth.
Want to let you know, if you get a chance, as I said, come by South Boston Speedway, but looks like Speedway Productions and Home Team Sports will be here 3 more times this season. We're also going to go to Langley for the Goodies Dashers and the late model stock cars, and then I believe in August to the Old Dominion Speedway for late model stock car racing. So keep your eyes in the newspaper and check your local listings for Home Team Sports and Speedway Productions, bringing you the late model stock cars all season long. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great season.
Well, if you're a racing fan, you can't get enough. You see the Hooters Cup, the All-Pro guys, ASA, Winston Cup and Busch, obviously, the Truck Series, and now more increased coverage for these Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. These guys really deserve it. And, you know, there was an article in one of the trade papers stating that they were not going to turn this into a touring series. There might be some drivers, a Dale Earnhardt Jr., maybe a Jay Fogelman, possibly a Barry Begley, that might pick and choose their races as to where they want to go and get the big bucks this year. But for the most part, in the Winston Racing Series, you would still have your weekly short track action.
Well, the NASCAR has reinforced that by the way they've set up the regional points. Usually the regional points, it was you try to run as many races as you could, you'd run all these tracks. Well, now it's based on your 18 or 20 best finishes from your home track. So once that's encouraging guys to stay at their home track. Now, if you get a unique situation, if you want to run a Southside Speedway in Richmond on Friday night and then go to Old Dominion or here to South Boston or somewhere else on Saturday, you can do that. But they've made it to where it reinforces guys to come. It builds a fan base. Fans get to come to their local short track, root for their favorite driver, and watch them compete on a national level. So NASCAR's done, really by doing that, kind of turned it away from a touring division, even though, as you mentioned, there are certain guys who do it. There are some drivers who like to come to these TV races to help their sponsors out, and that's great. There's also guys who are going to run their local track each and every weekend, and that's really made it a strong series.
Now, you were talking about some realignment going on with the track that you're working at. Has shifted from regions, and that gives the drivers in the Virginia area possibility of winning a championship in 2 regions, which would be unheard of so far.
They've made it interesting. Old Dominion Speedway, Manassas, Virginia, moving this year from the Atlantic Seaboard region into the Northeast region. So drivers in Virginia have a unique opportunity. They can run maybe Friday nights at Southside and Old Dominion on Saturday and race in 2 different regions. Some guys have that same opportunity. If they're in North Carolina or South Carolina, they can run in the Mid-Atlantic region in North Carolina and then go south to parts of South Carolina or Georgia and run in, I think, what's the Sun Belt region in that area. So some drivers to the south have had that opportunity before, but NASCAR breaks it up into regions throughout the country, and I tell you what, big money handed out each year in Nashville when they go to their final banquet, and the national championship now is worth over $100,000.
And boy, I tell you, one driver I just am amazed that is still doing it, Larry Phillips out of Springfield, Missouri. This gentleman just continues to roll on. I remember the years back when he was running dirt with some of the best dirt drivers in the country, and he continues to spin off Winston Racing Series national championships, but it should be an exciting season once again with the realignment. Should be an exciting finish as we're geared up for the final lap of action here at South Boston Speedway in the CarQuest Auto Store's Twin 75.
All right, if anybody's got a chance, they've got a hope that Kevin Grubb misses a gear on this restart. He's not messed up all night long, but that's Bubba Urban Jr., Wayne Grubb, B.A. Wilson's only hope. Kevin Grubb has got to make a mistake for them to have a shot at it, and if I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on it because Kevin has been flawless. But don't go anywhere. We're going to have a shootout here. Fans come to their feet anyway, just in case.
Boy, I tell you, there's many drivers under that lengthy caution got the rosary beads out, hoping that something would happen to that 55 car. They would have the opportunity to come away with a victory here tonight. Again, up through the gearbox. Kevin Grubb about 2 car lengths of an advantage back into turn number 1 and 2. Bubba Urban goes with him this time. A little bit better. He pulls away from Wayne Grubb and comfortably holds on to the number 2 spot. Wayne Grubb back in 3rd. Wilson holding on to 4th. Denny in 5th. As the field will come back for the white flag. 1 lap to go this time by.
That Bullet-sponsored car looks like it's bulletproof. They're back down in 1 and 2. And half a lap away from making it 4 straight in trouble in turn number 2.
Chris Evans, one of the drivers involved as they come back to the stripe. It will be the yellow and the checkered, and victory number 3 of this young 1997 season for young Kevin Grubb. It'll be Bubba Urban Jr. coming home in the number 2 spot. Wayne Grubb in 3rd. B.A. Wilson and Frank Denny Jr. will be the top 5.
Man, I tell you what, that could have gotten hairy there with those 2 cars sitting down in turn number 2. They put the checkered and the yellow out at the same time, let guys know that there were trouble down there. And Kevin Grubb has now made it 4 already this season. So that's amazing.
Well, John Evans will have a chance to talk to him. I don't know what he can say that he didn't say in race number. I think it's going to get to that point in this season, possibly, for Kevin Grubb. What are you going to say to this young guy if he keeps coming back?
You just say, thank you, I'll take the trophy, and I'll be on my way now.
We'll have a few words with Kevin Grubb in just a few moments, but before that, we're going to take a pause for these commercial messages and come back with a wrap-up of tonight's Winston Racing Series late model stock car action. Don't go away. Things are wrapping up tonight here at the South Boston Speedway. Young Kevin Grubb comes away with yet another Winston Racing Series late model stock car victory, a sweep at tonight's CarQuest Auto Parts Twin 75's. The first one he had to earn. The second one, it was a cakewalk.
Man, I mean, he makes it look so easy. These guys, it's going to be so frustrating. B.A. Wilson, a former champion. David Blankenship, a veteran. Jay Fogelman, who's like won everything he can in a late model, and they're trying to figure out what in the world does this guy know that we don't know. That's 4 in a row, and I think if you go back to last year, it's like 5 of the last 6 races he's won here. It's amazing. It's amazing.
How about look at that top 10 for tonight?
All right, it was Kevin Grubb, your winner. Nice job. Bub Urban Jr. came back for second. Wayne Grubb was third. Fourth was B.A. Wilson. Fifth, nice run for Frank Daney Jr. Sixth was Blankenship. Seventh was Shane Lockhart. Eighth was Rodney Sawyer. Ninth was Greg Davis. And Rob Ziegler ended up in your top 10.
Well, we don't know what he's going to say because he's already talked 3 times this year to the feature winner. But John Evans is down in victory lane with Kevin Grubb.
Kevin, congratulations, a great run for you tonight, and not bad. Home team sports, you win 2 twin 75s. That last race, you ran a little bit further distance, but, you know, great run for you tonight. This is 5 in a row if you go back to last season, and the first time on 4/10 of a mile here that this been done. I think Hermie Sadler was the last one to do it.
Yeah, I tell you, South Boston Speedway, it's a great racetrack. All the people here are great. You know, I have a great car. Hedgecock race cars built the car, and Morris Johnson, he's my crew chief. Couldn't do it without them. Bullets, Peterbilt trucks, they're my sponsors, and you know, just to come out here and run as good as we have, it's been like a dream. You know, this year it's been real good to me. Every race we've run besides Martinsville, me and my brother have won, and so far 97 has been a real good year for Grubb Motorsports, and hope we can keep on doing it and come back to South Boston next week.
Okay, a good run for Kevin Grubb tonight, and Gene Dewberry with Renegades on victory lane night. So congratulations.
Well, that'll do it on a rather frigid evening. It's starting to get a little bit cool out here, but it was a great day. I tell you, like you mentioned before, anytime you come down to South Boston, the folks treat you great, and it's a wonderful facility to be a part of.
Yeah, if you get opportunity, get out here June the 13th. The Busch Grand National Cars be great. We'll be back here 3 more times this year, and it may be a Kevin Grubb show. This guy has an opportunity to win the regional championship the way he started off here this season.
Kevin Grubb with a sweep here this weekend in the CarQuest Auto Store's Twin 75s. For John Evans down on pit road and my tag team partner here, Edwin Perdue, and our entire Speedway production staff, I'm Buddy Long. Thanks very much for joining us, and join us on our next HTS broadcast of the NASCAR Winston Racing Series. Good night, everybody.